All right. Can you see me all right? I'm going to get Donato right now. Cabrera, the music director of the Las Vegas Philharmonic. One moment, please.
And
Donato!
hey, hey, man.
Good morning from downtown Las Vegas. Where are you right now?
I'm still up in San Francisco, trying to get down to Las Vegas. Hopefully soon, very soon.
Okay. You can't. What's your status there? Are you allowed to actually leave and travel and come here? Are you permitted to do
Well,
that right now?
that's the issue. At the moment, I have a flight lined up, but the flight keeps on, they keep on changing the time and date of the flight. So
Hmm.
uh, I might have to just rent a car and drive down. That's probably what's going
Uber.
to happen.
Uber it.
No, no problem. Put it on my credit card. Pay later. Buy now, pay later.
Hit the app and see what that would cost you.
Yeah,
More than
not a
one
bad
way to
idea.
More than one way to skin a cat. You'd have quite a
That's right.
playlist on that drive. I know that.
Yeah, that's
So
very
how have you
true.
been,
Lots of
sir?
Duran Duran.
A
I've been
lot of
hanging
Duran
in
Duran.
there.
How have you been?
Yeah, I've been hanging in there. Like all of us, we're trying to find ways to connect. Like you, we're so used to being in the community and sharing our passion. And of course, one of the most frustrating things for artists and for so many people is that when we are needed most, like the Las Vegas Philharmonic was after October 1st. Uh, uh,
Hmm.
so the arts have a particular role to bring society together, and we're trying to find ways to do that right now, even though we shouldn't be coming together in person, but we're doing our best to do it virtually and online.
Yeah, I know that you've been working hard at that. Folks who are just joining us now, this is Donato Cabrera, the music director and conductor of the Las Vegas Philharmonic, live from San Francisco, where you also are at work. Also, you still
Yes,
toggle that symphony also.
that's I have.
Um,
I'm also the music director of the California Symphony in Walnut Creek. So two wonderful organizations. I'm proud to be a part of. Amazing
yeah,
people work.
I'm letting people know on Twitter that we're going live here, Donato.
Awesome. So I take it this is your backdrop that you wake up to every day.
This is it. Yeah.
Yeah, great view.
This is my yeah. It's a great view of a bunch of places I can't visit right now. I have a great view of
Exactly.
what I used to do. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I've
exactly.
been living down here in downtown Las Vegas since April of 2014. Not far from the Smith Center, just a half mile
Right,
away from the
right, right,
Reynolds
right.
Hall, where you
Yeah.
ply your craft. Tell us, Donato. I know people who've been reading the column have known about this, but people who are jumping on now might not be aware of what you've been doing to keep connected with your contacts in the arts world and keep yourself fulfilled.
When this originally happened, being a conductor, it's hard to um, ply my trade at the moment, as you just said, because I need, upwards of 100 people to work with intimately and closely. And I thought, well, what can I do that I know a lot about that I can share on a daily basis that, like you also just said, that can keep me sane and keep me engaged, keep me interested. And I realized that I have because of my background, I know quite a bit about recordings and performances online, and I thought, well, I can do this every day. I can spend a couple of
Hmm.
hours and write about the music that I love, and it's not just about Beethoven and Brahms and Gabriela Elena Frank and all these amazing composers that I get to conduct with the great Las Vegas Philharmonic, but it's also about the music that we all grew up with. I to Duran Duran, um, Peter Gabriel, you name it, Radiohead. The list goes. Duke Ellington. I mean, I have a Catholic taste when it comes to the arts, and
That's a good way to
I
put it.
love I love to share that with anyone I can.
Let's talk about Duran Duran, especially. That was blog before this last one. I've been following
Yeah.
you, and I know this about you even before you started this particular daily project. Is you have a wide your musical tastes cover a wide chasm. You like a lot of different types of music. I know that about you. We've hung out at Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns. We've talked about the
Hmm.
Killers and Imagine Dragons and Panic at the Disco and some of the bands out of Las Vegas. We come from the same place
Yeah.
in music, you know, in the 80s. And you talked about the fact that your first concert was Duran Duran at Lawler Event Center. You just said it was in February of 1984. I figured out it was Lawler when you were living in Reno, right?
Well, that's that's the journalist in you, figuring it out.
I saw Rush. I saw Rush in Lawler about a year before that. The band at Lawler
Wow,
Event Center.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually on my birthday, February 4th, 1984. And I had to beg my parents. I just turned 14. I had to beg my parents to go, and they drove me there. I think my dad actually may have stayed in the parking lot. I think he did. I think he did. Stayed in the parking lot.
Show.
Well, no, I mean he could care less about Duran Duran, but I mean he didn't want me to to be influenced by the wrong folks. So he waited for the concert to end and picked me up and took me back home. And I had never, first of all, I had never heard anything so loud in my life. And I had never been in a public setting with so many people going crazy about one thing, which was music. And that stuck with me. It still has that experience sort of, like you said, I think that connection between the audience and the musician. Now, for me, the first one was Duran Duran. That feeling of all of humanity, of this large group of people being affected by an art form. It really it sunk deep into me, and I thought, I need to be a part of this somehow. I didn't necessarily equate myself with becoming a rock star or anything like that, or joining a band. But the idea of being affiliated with oneness has remained with me to this day.
That's remarkable. That was the same tour that people who Duran Duran fans know. It was the Arena album was recorded later that year in Oakland and was released as their live. It sounds beyond the stage.
When I knew that from the early age, my grandmother played piano, not professionally, but during holidays and just family gatherings, she would sit down at the piano and play her favorite songs. She learned them by ear. It wasn't anything fancy, but every member of my family would gather around in the living room and hear this magical moment of my grandmother making music. And even from a young age, I just was so intrigued and in love with this idea that music can play this part in gathering people together. And so I insisted, after that, I think I was 8 or 9, when we went back home to Las Vegas, I begged my parents to take piano lessons because I wanted to be a part of that. So you're right. I wanted to be. That's because that's what she played. That's what my grandmother played, piano. I thought,
because of her. Okay.
Because of her. And so it's always been for me this magical art of and pull of what the arts can do to a community, whether it's a family or whether it's 10,000 screaming fans. And so yes, from that moment on, I wanted to make music and to be able to give that gift to as many people as possible.
When you were, we talked about this when we were chatting earlier about your ongoing column, and it's The Music Plays On is the entry, right?
Right. That's right. The Music Plays On, sort of, a blanket title, but it's on this wonderful website and app called medium.com, and which I really like. There's so many great writers on there. I don't claim to be a fantastic writer, but I'm inspired by all the things that people are publishing right now and sharing with everyone. And I feel like it's a real easy format. So yeah, it's on medium.com. It's a blog I actually started a couple of years ago because I do write occasionally, usually not with as much frequency, but I have been writing for a couple of years about various
Right.
subjects. And this was a way to bring all of these things I'd been thinking about together in one place.
And we had, when we're discussing your, the variety of topics, you were telling me about how you, in your senior year in high school at Reed High School, had taken a job at the CD store, it's called, right? It was called.
Yeah, so
Donato Cabrera was a sales associate at the CD store in Reno when
it's
he was a
my
senior in high
life.
school.
My life at that point, from 1988 to 1995, was High Fidelity. That movie, like that was exactly, that was like a biographical movie for me. It was, these stores no longer exist, but the CD store, which opened in 1983, it was the third CD store in the nation to open. So that only sold CDs. So in 1983, that was
Exclusively CDs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
exclusively CDs. And I joined 5 years later. I was a senior in high school. I had gone in a few times on my own because I had heard that this store, which was on this other side of town from where I lived, had the best classical collection. And so when I was in high school, I was really getting into music, into jazz, especially classical music. So I had gone in a couple of times, and the owner kind of intimidated me. He's kind of a bigger guy, and he was a sort of a boisterous, imposing personality. He's like, "What? Oh, you're in the classical section. Why are you on? A kid like you. What do you know about classical music?" And so we had talked a few times. Fred Anderson, he's still a very close friend of mine, and Fred, when I applied, he gave me this long list. Like, wait, so how many symphonies did Beethoven write? 9. All right, how many symphonies did Mahler write? 9. He's like,
This was
okay,
to
how
get a
about
job at the CD store?
yeah, this was like it was a litany. He's like, all right, what instrument did Miles Davis play? Trumpet. And so after this litany of questions, he hired me. I think he took a risk. I was 18. I had never worked in retail. This was my first job. Second, well, I had a summer job in Las Vegas before that. But anyway, that moment from those next 7 years exposed me to a world of music lovers in a way that I will forever be appreciative. To walk every day, there were these diehard customers that from various walks of life that would they'd come in and buy 5 or 6 CDs at a time. We had a frequent buyer program, and they would share with me, "Oh, have you heard this, about this brand new recording by Chris Isaac called San Francisco Days?" I'm like, "Yeah, it just came out last week. It's so great, man. Have you heard it yet?" It's like, it was just, or like, there was this English teacher at Hug High School. I remember Jim Janke. And Mr. Janke, he'd come and he's like, "Have you ever heard the early Tom Waits albums?" I was like, "Well, I haven't, but they're over there." And he exposed me to Tom Waits. And I remember a retired professor from UNR, Dr. Walter Palmer. He exposed me to the music of Sibelius. I mean, all of these people were gifts to me, and I still love. There's nothing more I love. There's nothing I love more than at intermission now at the Las Vegas Philharmonic or after the concert if I can, to come out to the lobby, the beautiful Smith Center, and people come up to. I cannot wait to hear about what moved them. What did they like about the concert? What they didn't like, because this connection of the art form. That's why we're all there. That's why I'm on stage, and that's why they're in the audience. And so I'm still inspired by that.
What was the first classical piece that touched you as a kid? I don't know where it would have been in this narrative, but I can tell you, as someone who has had that kind of experience, I didn't have the classical music bug, and I don't think the people around me necessarily did either, the way you did, coming out of that era. Where did that start, and how did that start?
It started at my uncle's condominium in Las Vegas. So my uncle, who I'm still with, Steve and my aunt Steve and Susan Philpott, they're supporters of the Las Vegas Philharmonic, and Las Vegas Academy and so many other and First Robotics throughout Las Vegas. He was one of the first. He was a big techie back when a computer was like half of a room, right? And he was one of the. And in 1980, when the CD player first came out, he was one of the first people to buy a CD player in the state of Nevada. He had me over. I remember my grandmother was there. My little sister Madeline, who also lives in Las Vegas. I think we were all there for dinner, and he played a recording of Carmina Burana. Orff's Carmina Burana, which I've conducted at the Las Vegas Philharmonic. It was on Telarc, and Telarc, if you remember, was like high fidelity. And he played that CD, and I couldn't believe the power. And of course, my uncle had taken me to see the movie Excalibur when it came out in Las Vegas, and it's the same music. The music that's from Carmina Burana is in the movie Excalibur, and I thought, oh my God, that's the soundtrack to Excalibur. And I found, of course, it wasn't a soundtrack. It was this piece by the German composer Karl Orff. So that's one of the first recordings I remember of classical music, and making a huge impact.
And you knew it when you heard it, right? Is that what
I knew it? It just, that bass drum in Carmina Burana just shot through me, and it's like it was like a tattoo, you know.
Probably was like a tattoo. Yeah,
that's right.
It was. We've talked about investigating how to bring your sensibility to the stage and somehow partner with Las Vegas artists, and you actually did do that with the Composer Showcase fairly recently at the Smith Center. Can you talk about how that developed and how you were able to partner with Keith Thompson's vision at Cabaret Jazz that we've had in Las Vegas for so many years and bring that to the stage? Because that was a very special night at Reynolds Hall.
It was a special night. It exceeded even everyone's expectations. It was such a special moment. When I first became music director of the Las Vegas Philharmonic, there were everyone wanted me. Everyone was so welcoming. All the musicians and the community, and of course my new colleagues on stage began inviting me to their favorite things. And while of course Keith and Philip aren't in the Las Vegas Philharmonic, they're first cousins of the Las Vegas Philharmonic. And many people said, hey, Wednesday night, once a month on a Wednesday night, it starts at 10:30 over at Cabaret Jazz. You need to check this thing out. It's a really wonderful local event. And I don't think I was able to go my first season for a variety of reasons. Not that I didn't want to go, it just didn't work out. But I think during my second season, 5 years ago, I was able to finally go. Deanne Letourneau took me.
Mm-hmm. First chair in the symphony. That's
right. She was a concert master at the Las Vegas Philharmonic. And that night, again, was one of those moments in my life where it was like, what? This is the most amazing thing, a saxophone player from Jersey Boys gets up and plays a guitar of his song he just wrote last week. I mean, that is so cool. And the daughter of a keyboard player that is a highly regarded keyboard player, and his 16-year-old daughter gets up and sounds like Sade. I mean, what? And so the idea didn't gel at first. That was, like I said, that was 4 or 5 years ago. And then I started going whenever I could, of course, because it was like, wow, you can't miss this. And I think it was, now it was about 2.5 years ago, I was there and I thought, what's happening on stage right now in Cabaret Jazz, how can we take this over, 500 feet over to Reynolds Hall and put the orchestra behind it? So the very next day, I called Keith and I said, hey, what are you doing? Let's meet for coffee, like today. I have this idea. So we met at Sunrise Cafe over on Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, why do you want to meet over there? He's like, well, that's where I live around here. He said, all right, I'll drive across town. So he drove across town, and we sat and sat down. I said, what do you think of this idea of bringing of bringing the Composer Showcase over to Reynolds and having the Las Vegas Philharmonic back you guys up?" And he looked at me. I first thought, well, maybe he has the best poker face in the world, but it turned out that he just didn't believe me. He just thought, "Oh, come on, that's." I mean, this is never going to happen. You're crazy. And I said, "No, I'm absolutely serious. I don't know when it can happen, but let's try. We have to, there's no harm in trying." And so he's like, "All right, whatever." And so I wrote. We started emailing, and I gave the proposal to the board and to Lacey Husha, who's our wonderful ED, and over it wasn't easy because the timeline of an orchestra is a lot different than a timeline of like a cabaret show. That show's put together. That show's put together sort of like at the last minute, but we have to plan like a year in advance, like who's going to be singing and et cetera, et cetera. And so, it was sort of like trying to put a square peg in a round hole, but we were able to make it work. You were there for when we announced it. Yeah. And, like I said, we had no idea if it was going to work, but I knew that if Keith could get up and deliver, he's like one of the greatest MCs. He's just so natural and funny and honest and just endearing. He's endearing. And I thought if he could just get up and be himself and introduce these people that everyone in the audience probably already knows and loves, it's going to work out. And it did. It really did.
Yeah. It was fantastic. It was a real moment because it was, as you say, the blending of two real institutions. One that was really under the radar for so long, and then one of our major artistic institutions for so many years. I agree with you on Keith. He should be I've always said he should be the host of everything.
I agree.
He should just be the general host. But how are you able to, Donato, through this period of time, keep the spirits up of your musicians and keep some sort of collective, communal energy going while you're not playing, you're not rehearsing, there's not the next thing right now that you're really able to target? Are you able to contact the musicians, connect with them in any way artistically to keep their spirits up?
Well, I think one thing that what we're all trying to discover how to be connected right now, no matter what we do in life, whether we're, accountants or musicians. So what we're trying to do now, and if you go to the Las Vegas Philharmonic homepage, lvphil.org, you'll see a link to a new page we've created that connects. Not only it has my blog there, a link to my blog, but it has also links to all these videos that our musicians are starting to contribute and create, because they're also in the same boat as us. They're home. They're they're trying to all we can have right now is hope and go day by day. And so people are still practicing, and now a lot of people are just videotaping their practice session, or they're videotaping a song they've learned. And for instance, Jeff Newman, a fantastic bass player who's in our orchestra and also in various jazz groups around the city, he just posted a great video on YouTube with his son playing together, which we have on the lvphil.org on our new page. And Deanne Letourneau just recorded something yesterday playing, it's 250th anniversary of Beethoven's birth this year, and she just
joined us. Deanne's on.
Oh,
with
cool.
us.
Hey, Deanne. That's so cool. So yeah, if you go to either her Facebook page or lvphil.org, you can see her. She has such a great message to share of hope and positivity. Deanne's one of the most positive people I've ever met, and you can just see that bubbling through that video. So I think right now what we're just trying, Las Vegas Philharmonic, we're trying to bring everyone together to still have this sense of community. That's the one thing that Las Vegas is so wonderful at doing. We've exhibited this time and time again, this sense of community, this sense of family. and Las Vegas Philharmonic is right there, right there.
Mm-hmm. You told a great story about your days when you were at the CD store. By the way, you know what the first commercial CD was ever sold?
It was.
I just
That's a
learned
good
this.
question. I think it was Beethoven's Ninth.
There were two that. Well, let's see here. I will tell you.
So I know the history of why the CD is 80 minutes and not shorter or longer. I can share that with you.
All right. I think I might know why naturally, but why is it?
So
it fits two albums. Two
that
albums worth of material on it.
That it does, but also the conductor who's passed away, but Herbert von Karajan was the conductor of the Berlin Philharmonic for 50 years. And he also was a tech junkie. And when Philips started producing the technology of the CD, he was part of that process. And he said, listen, the Beethoven's Ninth is approximately 80 minutes. So if you can put Beethoven's Ninth on one CD, that should be the length of a CD. So what's the first commercial recording though?
Well, that's the first that was on CD. You're right. Beethoven's Ninth was the first one to be produced on a CD to sell.
Do I know? I don't.
You're on it. CD store guy, you retain this. The CD store guy. The first that was the first mass produced for widespread commercial release was 52nd Street by Billy Joel.
I didn't know that.
Seriously, the re-release. It was released as an album earlier, and then they re-released it as the first widespread pop rock CD. So
you were around at that time, so I would assume that you probably first probably had a little bit of a record collection, and then also had a serious probably cassette tape collection, and then you like making mixtapes for your friends along the way. Yeah. And that lasted for quite a while, because I remember I had a CD collection and a cassette tape, and all of my friends who still mostly had a cassette player, I would make mixtapes from my CD collection, give to my best friends. I would be so meticulous, like writing every little thing.
It was a mathematic and artistic challenge to get the right mixtape, because if you found yourself with about a minute and a half left, you were in Never Never Land.
Oh yeah,
you couldn't get a full song on there, and you didn't want to go with a half a song.
That's right, bad form. That was bad form. If you had a minute and a half left on your cassette, you just didn't plan it right.
I like Maxell 60 or Maxell 90 metal, and TDK also.
Those were the two. Those were the two.
Yeah. Oh, those are the hot.
I don't know. Is this good that we're revealing our experience with this matter?
You know what? Yeah, your columns initiated all this. I remember there's certain songs I've had in my life that I've had versions of on every conceivable platform. I'm talking 8-track album.
Wow.
Albums, actually. 8-track albums, cassette, CD, download. I mean, it's like
we've gone the gamut.
Like the White Album on everything. I mean,
that's awesome.
It's like
I remember
overtime on everything.
I remember that my parents 8-track, when we had this old Chevy station wagon. There was an 8-track player in it, and the movie The Sting came out. I was 4 or 5, and I fell in love with Scott Joplin. That 8-track. That was always on. I'd beg my parents, like, put the Sting on, and I'd be in the back seat. I don't think there were seat belts back then, so I was probably going crazy.
Oh no. No. It was the highway to hell, as AC/DC once said.
Exactly.
I remember that song because I was taking piano lessons, and it was called "The Entertainer." The piece was.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
It was like number 1. The song was number 1.
Go figure. How could a rag be number 1 in the 7? That's so phenomenal.
Yeah. The first lick, I think, is the reason why. The intro to that song. You
Da-da-dee-da,
can't help. It's like a great guitar lick. You can't help but
oh yeah,
stay with the song after the first,
it's a
the
great
opening of
earworm.
it.
It's like Take on Me by Aha.
You've got that too. Tell me about Take on Me. I saw
Oh,
I saw Aha live, by the way.
you
Yeah.
did not. I'm so jealous. I just lost you there for a second.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, so Aha. Well, I mean, I was at the perfect age where I was watching MTV more than doing my homework. So that video, when that video came out, I'd never seen anything. No one had seen anything like that, and it's still, in watching it again, I hadn't seen it in years, really. In watching it again when writing the blog, it's still such a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
And great story, that video. And there's a great documentary, I should add it to my blog, about it just was made last year. They interviewed the band, they interviewed the artists that drew. There were over 10,000 drawings for that video that they had. It took them six weeks of working day and night to finish video of drawing each. It's really fascinating. It's so fascinating how they put that video together, and of course that's what drew me in, was just that phenomenal video, and of course the earworm of that song, and that thing that starts the song.
The synthesizer intro. It's very you hear that in the Killers music, by the way. A lot
you
of
do.
That there. A lot of Duran Duran. A lot of the Cars, big one.
Oh, Rick Ocasek. I can't believe he passed away. It's amazing.
That whole era of catchy hooks and the ability to transfer music to video and complement them and create a different entertainment. A lot of people knock the '80s, but I thought it was a great period. I thought it was Prince's greatest era. Bruce Springsteen was fantastic. We had Thriller, we talked about when the Michael Jackson album came out, was groundbreaking. There was a lot of great stuff that happened in the '80s.
It was a moment in time that's very similar to when the internet became ubiquitous. So then it was a great, like you just said, it was a great moment where technology was being embraced so openly by the arts. So there was the first time that synthesized sound was being used in music. And what was also so wonderful was that these music videos were being directed by incredible directors, and these storyboards for these videos were incredible. So it was almost like a modern day opera. Opera just means the work. The Italian word opera is the works, and so it means all the art forms working together. And that time was very special. It was very similar to the first decade of the 2000s when we started using technology, the new technology, to reach out, like we are right now doing.
Right. I should ask you this, Donato. I don't think we've had this conversation over the course of time, but I've asked others who have spent their lives in music and creating music. People like Carlos Santana, who we had a chance to spend time with down at Discovery Children's Museum fairly recently. And it's about electronic music and the EDM landscape. What do you think of that as an art form? And could you ever see possibly the symphony using EDM and infusing it in what you do on stage? Is that a possibility, do you think, as we advance with technology?
Most definitely. I'm sure you've written about this. In the 80s, there was such again, talking about when a new technology or way of making music comes into an art form, there's often a backlash. And when the synthesizer came to Las Vegas, there was this incredible backlash that resulted in a very unfortunate strike that really decimated the musical landscape after that.
Right.
And I think that there has been a similar backlash to the idea of EDM and sort of poo-pooing, like, oh, these aren't musicians, they're just mixing music by other people, and they're not doing anything other than that. That's an accountant can do that, and that's not true. I think there is something to that to that way of showing music or of sharing music that is a very artistic endeavor. And I think eventually, as all art does, it will envelop that art form, and there will be expressions of that, of EDM, in all types of music eventually. It will happen, and I would love to explore that. These folks that are DJs, they have like you, they have an incredible knowledge of the art form, and they know so much about sounds. And there's those type of people should be coveted and worked with, without a doubt.
We have seen, Donato, and I'm sure you've been exposed to it too, on a lower scale where classically trained musicians have used that technology and have used the EDM template to create smaller performances. You have a classically trained violinist who's
that do
working
loops
with the DJ console and creating a multi-level sound that's actually pretty damn cool. And these are the same people this is the same culture that has historically resisted that technology, but now I think they have started to really adopt that and create a different sort of live performance. And it's really interesting to see it evolve.
I have a very close friend. I'll put it on the comments here. Her name's Clarice Jensen. She's a cellist, incredible cellist. She's, in fact, I think her new album is being released today, if I'm not mistaken. And all of her music is her looping her various sounds that she can create on the cello to create this multi-layered universe that it's all her, and that entire album are the sounds that she has manipulated, just like what's happening in EDM. I'll put the link up for you to check it out. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking at her now. So in other words, she's looping in the same way with a cello that someone like Ed Sheeran has done with a guitar.
Exact same way. The exact same way.
Ed Sheeran is no joke, by the way. I saw him.
No, he's incredible.
About a year and a half ago. Unbelievable, dude. I mean, it was like an orchestral sound coming out of him, just him on stage doing his loops, and he had a digital rotating, interlocking series of panels above him that spun around as he was playing. It was like watching Pink Floyd. I'm not kidding. I
don't doubt it. I've been wanting to check him out. I just haven't had the chance yet.
Yeah, but I'm looking at her. Clarice Jensen, you said. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's she from? Where's she based?
She grew up in Kansas, but she's lived in New York. We were in school together, and we actually her sister and I were roommates, and the three of us started this new music ensemble called Acme, which is still in existence. It's celebrating its 15th year. It's the American Contemporary Music Ensemble, which we started with all of our friends. And it's when I was in school in New York, or just getting out of school in New York. And she's like so many artists that live there. They're so inventive, and it's just been a joy to watch her develop into her own unique sound and sound world and create these two albums. Very special.
Very cool. I think I don't know if Flavor Flav actually manages his IG account, but Flavor Flav Official is on with us now.
Oh, way, cool. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, maybe we got to get him involved with the symphony.
Totally.
It is Flavor Flav, baby. I'll wrap it up with this, and it's been great talking to you, and whether it's in this format or whatever. What's the next frontier for Las Vegas Philharmonic when this is all behind us? What's the next thing you really want to achieve? The next step that you want to take the symphony? If you could describe what your vision would be once this is in the rearview mirror.
I think all of us at the Philharmonic, we're interested in getting out to the community in a more direct way. With more frequency. Last couple of years we started this wonderful initiative called Music Van. This is why and how Carlos Santana became involved. He and his wife were so intrigued with the idea of going into the schools directly and working with the kids and showing them not just about classical music but about world music and so many just being a direct resource rather than expecting folks to come to the Smith Center, which is a wonderful experience. But we want to do more of that, getting out into the community, doing concerts in venues, large and small, just being more embedded in a way that an orchestra can be. You know, it's not, an orchestra just isn't a group, 75 musicians, 100 musicians making music together. It can be 10 musicians making music. It can be 3 musicians. It can be going into a classroom for 20 minutes. It can be going into a senior living facility for an hour. It can be doing a concert during the art walk. You know, it can be so many things that we would love to do more, and we are planning on doing that. So just being engaged out into the community is something that we're working on now, and it's going to start happening.
I love it. I love it. Well, I really enjoyed that time we had with Carlos and Cindy Blackman Santana, where you were teaching the kids how to play the drums. When you watched all those kids, there were dozens of them who came in and played. You could find a couple that got the bug right there. You could tell.
That's right.
That they,
and if there's,
you know,
and you know, and it's
happening.
And you know, it's not the idea that we are necessarily trying to create the next musician. It's the idea that anyone can make art and be comfortable experiencing art. Whether or not they become a musician, that we don't know. But at least those kids, everyone in that room, made art at some level and experienced it, and that's what we're there for.
Yeah, and it was accessible, and it's something that they could. Yeah, you could tell the appreciation was universal. That was a really fun day. All right, Donato Cabrera. Well, I'm going to go off and start writing again, and I guess
Same
you're going to
here.
start writing again every day.
Every day. It is. A new appreciation for what you do.
Oh, geez. Well, it's. You know, it's harder as I say, it's harder for me not to write every day than to write every day, because I get such a backlog of information. I have to keep producing it. I'm sure you've, with your productivity and vast knowledge of the subject matter, I'm sure you found that too. But it's called, it's on medium.com/Donato Cabrera, right?
That's right. That's right.
And the music plays on as the umbrella title, and there's all kinds of cool stuff in here. All kinds. I love the Duran Duran anecdote. You talk about the one-armed pianist in yesterday's. The most recent, I think that's yesterday's.
That was yesterday's. Okay. That's correct. Yeah. And like I said, lvphil.org now has a resource that's putting together all the videos and my link, and as well as, you know, all these orchestras are now streaming live or are releasing backlogs of video performances for free. So there's lots of stuff out there to keep yourself occupied.
Okay, well, I'll kick out the link here on Twitter, and then and also mention it in the column, and we'll do this again, sir. It's been great.
Let's do it.
And I hope you can make it back to town at least. I hope you can make it back to Las
desperately
Vegas.
Trying to get it. Oh, that'll happen. It'll happen one way or the other.
Okay, I'm going to open invite you right now. The next Santa Fe show that is staged, you and I are going to be there. We're going.
We will definitely be there. All right, man.
We'll be there. Jerry Lopez, if you're out there, I'm already requesting my table and 2 fizzy waters.
I might have to have something more than fizzy water, but you know, we're good with that.
Fizzy water and a shot for the kid from San Francisco. Okay, we'll see you when you get back, and thanks for spending time with me. And all the best. I love the blog.
Anytime. Stay healthy.
You too, sir.
Bye.